Now, Qantas has had a good day on the market at long last, up almost 7% after a 10-year deal to co-fly with Emirates was signed off. But ad guru and professed Qantas tragic John Singleton says the CEO of the Flying Kangaroo is not up for the job, and he argues their ads stink. John, welcome to Switzer.
Well, colourful introduction, Pete.
Well, but this is basically what you think. You actually do believe, John, that the calibre of advertising and marketing does reflect on the leadership of any company.
It always does. And I guess, therefore, by saying that the advertising and marketing of Qantas has reached an all-time low, therefore it does reflect on Alan Joyce.
Yeah, and in a sense, the share price is there. And
today.
Not today. It kicked up today.
It went up today.
It went up today.
Would have got up more if they say we've given over all our management to Emirates because they know what they're doing and we don't.
Oh, that's a strong point. Now, I guess another question I should ask you then is if Qantas had been run the way you think Qantas should be run, would the deal with Emirates have been an essential thing, or could Qantas have been a standalone operation?
Well, Qantas has been run in my time through very powerful chairman and CEO teams, going back for Gary Pambert and James Strong, Margaret Jackson, Jeff Dixon. I mean, to them, a coach or an alliance wouldn't have been a headline. British Airways, American Airlines, they were helpful to Qantas. They didn't lift it out of the doldrums like we've seen Emirates do today. But today, I think Qantas we've seen, not that many years ago, we were told $5.60 a share was worth more than that. Now everyone's boastful is what's it got up to $1.06 or
$1.17 or something like that. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, and we've seen by all the international measurements on performance, the same ones we've used for 30 years. The Qantas was always rated 1, 2 or 3 airline in the world. That's why I think you and me, Aussies, thought we can be the best in the world. Look at Qantas. And now we're rated below. This year has been going downhill for 10 years, the last 5 years off the cliff. We're down behind Garuda, we're down behind Turkish Airlines, we're certainly way behind Virgin and way behind Emirates, which is right up where we used to be, we being Qantas. And it's reflected in the advertising, which I only commented upon to you because it has been, even though I was a small part of keeping it going, I can't take any credit for initiating it. And what I saw during the Olympics, those who use the Olympics well, such as Swiss, such as Telstra, then I saw those who wasted it, like Qantas. I thought, good God.
So you're talking about the new ad, and you're comparing it to the ad that you were associated with. I still call Australia home. But you didn't create it.
I had enough brains to keep it going.
Yeah.
And certainly everything needs a new twist. But when you see Qantas personally, anecdotally, and then you see its market share, and then you see the research study of its product declining at such a rate, and then you see incompetent advertising, you wonder what the hell's happening.
Yeah, and you link that to management at the highest levels, that they want to associate their company with, to put it crudely, ads that stink.
Yeah, once you've got no comprehension of marketing or advertising or your customers, which is reflecting in advertising, then your product will inevitably go down. There's been no exceptions to that. You've only got to look at the Telstra we mentioned before. Telstra now they understand their customers. David Thodey's taken over from the Amigos. The marketing's gone up, the market share's gone up, the share market's gone up. And you
don't think that's a coincidence? You think
no, it never is.
Ultra Hero's gone with the 3 Amigos, as you call them?
Hopeless.
Frank
Blunt and Charlie Zoy, they were Yanks, so I'm not racist.
Yeah.
They came over when Optus had every chance. We had to vote. Do you want to switch to Optus? Everyone had a telecom horror story. They agreed like that, changed the name to Telstra, go the Australian route. Remember, this is Australia calling. And why sell ourselves down the river to the Singaporeans? And we want over 90% of the vote, and Telstra, Optus almost gone.
So the point you're making then is that the leadership then can be reflected in the calibre of the advertising. Can you give me an example of when, say, for example, Dixon or Strong, what was leading Qantas, where they actually had input into advertising that showed that they got it?
Yeah, the day-to-day running of advertising they left to others. But when it came to the positioning of the brand, what Qantas stood for, both James Strong, who I didn't work with day to day, and Jeff Dixon, who I did at Ansett, then at Qantas, there wasn't a big ad that took part where he didn't dissect it scene by scene. There wasn't a time when I was on a flight with him where he didn't go and talk to the pilots, the hosties, the engineers, the baggage handlers. Now when I fly Qantas, you know, all they come up because they know somehow or other you've got something to do with Qantas and have had for a long time. And they say, can you get through to these blokes, being the chairman and the CEO, can you get through to these blokes, da 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 da.
So you're getting staff asking you...
Always.
Always?
You and I walk through baggage checking now, we walk through first class, economy class, we walk up the back of the plane, the front of the plane. I'll be stopped 4 or 5 times by people saying, what is going on with Qantas? And I know a lot of union officials and a lot of union members who are just drinking mates of mine, and they had real goodwill towards Qantas, and I've never known the ill will like this since the pilot strike.
But Dixon obviously had his battles with unions.
He did, but he did it in a worldly wagga wagga way. He'd sit down and say, now, what do you want? And here's what we want. And he had that hawky type quality of consensus.
Could talk the language.
Talk the language, sit down and say, well, here's what we've got to do. Here's my responsibilities, here's yours, how do we get together? And Jeff, James Strong, Gary Pemberton, they all have that worldly way about them. And now we've got, it's not Lee Clifford's fault because he's a...
Now, Lee Clifford's the chairman, for people who don't know.
He's chairman, and well, people who don't know him. See, that's for a high-profile company, that's not good.
No.
And he comes from a mining background where he has 6 customers. Qantas has 36 million customers. So is that a wise choice? Then you get a CEO who's Irish for a start.
Not there's anything wrong with that.
No, not if it's Guinness. But when it's Australia's own airline, it's not helpful. And Alan, there were 3 superstars at Qantas under Dixon. There was Borghetti, what he's done at Virgin. There was Peter Gregg, who's now gone to
Leighton's.
Wild King's old job. And heaven help him. And we had Alan Joyce, who was slash and burn man at Jetstar. So if you make a choice, you've only got to look at the share price of Qantas bang and Virgin up to know who made the right choice there. And when Borghetti comes on TV and he talks the brand, because it's no different to political advertising, we have such an inherent interest in Qantas, unlike any other brand, including Telstra. It's us. If it's good, we're good. Australia's good. We can be the best. It can be the best. So the inherent interest in the CEO is not paralleled by any other customer. When the CEO is wrong, and it's not Alan's fault, he was eligible, he got the job, but he always looks like he's just announcing a funeral. I mean, even tonight I heard him on, haven't seen him, I heard him announce the Emirates thing. I thought, oh, my grandmother's recovered, but you know, I think the next stroke will get her, sort of. It wasn't if it was John Borghetti, you go, wow.
So look, reflecting on, you've known lots of CEOs and chairmen of major companies. They've been your clients over the years. Have there been many who are successful, who run away from the media, who aren't prepared to stand and talk about their companies?
No, there are most who are reluctant debutantes, but they realise it goes with the territory, increasingly. And it is the case in the world. I read the Steve Jobs book recently, which I don't read many books, but...
Yeah, a great book.
A great book.
Walter
there was
Isaacson,
a guy who was not made for a public profile, but he sat there and every design, from the logo through to the design of the product, through the design of the advertising, the commercial itself, he sat in it. There was one guy he trusted from Chiat and Day, an American advertising agency, who'd retired. He didn't care. He just wanted him at every meeting because he knew that if the packaging, the product didn't look right, didn't feel right, the advertising wasn't right, Apple could go under.
You brought up the name Jobs, and Jobs is, when I read the book and analysed what he did, he understood customers, and in your game, your job is to understand customers even better than the people you work for, so your ad actually has great traction. Are you then arguing that the ads we're seeing now are a reflection of that Qantas has lost contact with their customers? Is this the inherent argument?
Yeah, no idea. No idea.
So, no idea?
No idea of his customers, because if you look at the ads, you are the reason we fly. I think well, that's not the reason they fly at all, and no one believes it, and it's nonsense. Now I believe Miranda Kerr's been signed as brand ambassador for the, well, what's the next pole dancing? I mean, great for cosmetics, a great model, great role model, probably a lovely girl for cosmetics. Qantas, no, I don't think
it
so.
doesn't. You don't think it's a game changer? And obviously Qantas needs a game changer because they've gone to Emirates to improve their potential profitability. But you're saying it's more than just running off to another partner to improve things. The business has to be improved.
It's just symptomatic of their... Qantas no longer means anything. Qantas' reputation, by every measurement we've used, the same measurements, every international airline uses it. We're down behind. As I said, being behind Garuda, Turkish, I never would have envisaged this could happen in my lifetime. To do that in the last 5, 6, 7 years, quite an achievement, almost impossible to do. And then to cling to the coattails of Emirates. And how many people think are going to fly Emirates and then go back to Qantas? Well, I think the other way around. When British Airways think, wow, thank God I'm flying Qantas mainly, you know, British Airways. But now I think this is, well, it's just grabbing hold of straws.
Okay, we're going to a break, John. We'll come back. We'll talk about other aspects of your view on Qantas, and also we'll show an ad that you've put together which you reckon shows them what they should be doing.
It took half an hour too.
It took half an hour. Okay. After break, more.
So the other big story towards the end of the week was Qantas, which has been searching for a game changer for its loss-making international wing, and it may have found it. The alliance with Emirates announced on Thursday will see it move its Europe-bound hub from Singapore to Dubai and break the long-established partnership with British Airways. So I spoke to Qantas chief Alan Joyce at his Sydney headquarters. Alan Joyce, will the deal with Emirates help take Qantas's international division into profitability?
Yes, I think the international business last year lost over $450 million. $100 million of that was because of the industrial action. So the gap was around $350 million. We've already, with all of the other transformation items we've announced, have come up with $300 million in savings and benefits before this Emirates deal. So now we clearly see a path through to this business breaking even in financial year 15. We said from August 14 onwards. And it's on the path to get to its cost of capital with the domestic business. So we're very happy that this is a big step in the right direction for Qantas International.
In fact, do you think that Qantas International can make the same sort of profit margins that Emirates does?
Well, we look at our Qantas businesses as a group, and we do want to make sure that Qantas International goes back to profits, but it and domestic together recover its cost of capital. And once we get there, those businesses will be producing equal or better results than Emirates because we have a very strong franchise in the domestic market.
Well, Emirates' most recent profit margin was 1.7%. If Qantas International earned that sort of margin, its profit would be $100 million, right?
It would, and as we said, you know, we do exceed our cost of capital in the domestic business. That business has not got the structural disadvantage that international has, or the issues around the Aussie dollar that international has. So we look at both businesses together in terms of what they need to get to return their cost of capital.
Now, how many flights will you be running into Europe under your brand, and how many under Emirates? And specifically, will you keep your Heathrow slots?
Yes, we are. So we have 2 flights a day to London that go through Singapore today. From the 1st of April, subject to regulatory approval, they will move to Dubai, still go through to London, but in Dubai they'll connect with Emirates' network to 33 destinations across Europe, including, you know, A380 services to 7 destinations, and the Qantas code will appear on that.
So how many services will you drop and transfer to Emirates?
We exit from the Frankfurt service, which is a big loss maker, but this is all about long-term growth, because what we're talking to Emirates about is when the 787s come for Qantas in 2016, how Qantas can use those aircraft through Dubai to start flying back to continental Europe. And we think there's great opportunities for us in the future to not only secure the jobs we have today, but also to actually grow our operation into continental Europe.
Isn't the most important point that it allows you to concentrate on Asia and reconfigure your network there so that it suits Asia rather than just being a stopover on the way to Europe?
It's a great point, Alan, and that's a real problem, a dilemma we have, because we had two equal problems, the European issue and Asia. And Asia was subsidiary to the kangaroo route in some ways, as we've been saying. So we were designing our schedules to Asia to connect to Europe, and that was actually losing the local Asian market. So for example, from Sydney to Singapore, we have two flights going very close together that are connecting into Europe. Now we're freed up to put those two flights at different timings to serve the local market, to connect to our partners in Asia, and to improve our proposition to Asia.
Wouldn't it be fair to say that without this deal with Emirates, Qantas International was going absolutely nowhere?
Well, I think Qantas to Europe and to Asia would have had problems without this deal with Emirates. We still have a great proposition to South America, North America, and to Africa and places like Japan. But you're absolutely right. This deal is very important for Qantas to be a viable competitor to Europe and to Asia, and we've made that very clear that we had to fix those two problems.
But you couldn't shut down your loss-making international division because you need it to serve the corporate market domestically, don't you?
Well, you are absolutely right on it, Alan. We know that our international business is very important to our domestic and frequent flyer business, so we've always said that we needed to fix it. That's why we gave ourselves that target. That's why we've been going through this four-pillar strategy with the huge transformation that the business has been undergoing to get that business back to break even and then to a profit.
So what are your lawyers telling you are the odds that it'll be knocked back by the ACCC?
We believe that this is a very solid case for showing that the net detriments, there's no net detriments out of this, that this is going to be positive for competition. You know, we're already seeing the competition react to this with the rumours that were out there. We'll have competition adding more capacity, reacting to Qantas and Emirates working together. We have 28 carriers overall operating on the kangaroo route into Europe. There's huge competition out there. This enhances competition. It allows us to be competitive in this market against what other carriers are doing. And I think there's huge positive benefits in frequent flyers, in scheduling into Asia, scheduling on the Trans-Tasman that will be taking the ACCC through. It's a process we have to do with a number of regulators. We don't take it for granted. We know the regulators have to review it, but we think there's a very strong case for approval of this alliance.
Thanks for joining us, Alan Joyce.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks. Good to talk to you again.
Welcome back to Switzer on Australia's Business Channel. Sitting next to me is Aussie icon businessman John Singleton. He's telling me his vision for the flying kangaroo on a day when Qantas got into bed with Emirates for 10 years. So, John, let's get back to it. You've been reported around June this year that you might be an interested buyer of Qantas with possibly Jeff Dixon and Mark Carnegie. Are you still a potential player?
Well, we have a little secret society meetings where we look at what's on the market and what's not.
And today you bought a pub today, the Marlborough in Newtown, for $12.150 million.
Yeah. Probably can afford more pubs than we can airlines.
Yes.
But to have a substantive stake in Qantas, you can mount now a compelling case for it. Yeah. It's coming down to about where our expectations are, and we have been selling a lot of assets for the last 7 or 8 years, as you would have noted, TV and all our Indonesian assets and Lonely Planet and lingerie.
And you're no longer in Magic Millions?
No, with nothing but selling. We haven't bought anything except pubs. As you know. Yeah. Well, they pay.
You wanted to own pubs that they couldn't kick you out of, isn't it? That was the philosophy, wasn't it?
Well, someone quoted that, and I couldn't deny it.
I just made that up. I didn't realise that, but knowing you, that's a pretty fair one. But okay.
But I think if a consortium were put together, I'd certainly be interested in investing a substantial amount of my net worth. I can't talk for Carnegie or Dixon, nor can I talk formally, because there's any one of a basket of companies that you think, gee, they're undervalued if they were run properly. Yeah. And Qantas is one. I'm just more attracted to Qantas at the moment because I'm back in I never left the advertising world, really. But I'm amazed that in the first 3 years I've been back in business, this is my third advertising agency has grown quicker than the first two.
Yeah.
And there's this
What's that called, the new agency?
Banjo.
Banjo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As in Banjo Patterson.
Yeah.
And Alan Johnston from Mojo is famous again since How's That with Kerry Packer, Come On Aussie, Come On. We got all the best young people around town, all under 30.
And some good old ones as well.
Oh, no, we just go past and say, good boys, good girls. Yeah?
Okay.
But it's interesting to meet the CEOs of these companies who are struggling. They're not interested in the new media. They're interested, or they are, of course, they're interested more in finding out a group of people who understand advertising and marketing, who understand their brand, who can understand their customers.
Yeah.
And part of that, a tiny little part of it, is automatically advertising. They don't come to buy an ad. They want to buy more market share, more reputation, and part of that's advertising. Yeah. And that has not changed.
And because you want to buy assets, so you've said to me before that you always look for assets that are low in value. Through advertising, you can add value, can't you?
You can. And and marketing, which advertising is always what the people see part of the marketing. And there are a couple of cases at the moment. The one you and I happen to be talking about is Qantas. It's poorly positioned, reputationally poor, service poor, morale poor, share price poor, and.
But you also say, John, if the product's not good enough, your advertiser's not going to sell a crook product. You don't think Qantas's product is that crook, it's not worth getting?
No, I think...
You think there's a small amount of tweaking?
Yes, and the people's morale, the staff morale, there's 20-odd unions. I think you've got to get those union leaders together and say, hey, we're going down the tubes here. We're number 2 or 3 airline in the world. For always. And now we're down here with the, risk your life airlines. I mean, we're all going to have to do this together. We'll look after you better. You're going to look after us better. What's the go? And they're human beings, they're Aussies just like us. They're very proud of Qantas. They were, they're not now. It's a turnaround situation that starts with the people. And if the staff and people is a service business, you turn them around. And remember, you can have all those staff, corporate, in-house nonsense as you want. The best way to get through to those staff, and Dixon was a postmaster at it, as was James Strong, is in the media. Like now they watch TV, so then when they see Strong or they see Dixon or they see Pemberton, that was the best way to get to them. Now they see bad news, and they're out there now and they're hearing nothing but bad news. And if you turn the staff around at Qantas and gave them the same objective as the airline to be number 1 reputationally again, profit would automatically follow, share price and all those other things would follow.
Okay, let's have a look at the ad that you and...
Oh, not me.
Well, Alan Johnson has knocked up
Joey,
from Mojo.
Yeah.
You set him in charge.
From Banjo.
Banjo.
He and I partners.
Okay, fine, yes.
I said, mate, what would you do? Moving on from I still call Australia home. And he sat in a room with a guitar, played to himself, and it's his voice reciting My Country, Dorothy Keller. And we had 9 scenes to work with. In half an hour, bang.
Okay, let's just show the product of this. Okay, let's go, guys.
I love a sunburnt country. Land of sweeping plains, of ragged mountain ranges, of droughts and flooding rains. I love her far horizons. I love her jewel sea, her beauty and her terror, the wide brown land for me. An opal-hearted country, a willful, lavish land. All you who have not loved her, you will not understand. Though earth holds many splendours, wherever I may go, I know to what brown country my homing thoughts will fly.
Well, what it does for me is it puts the tingle back in advertising, and that's what I guess separates ordinary from great advertising.
And also Qantas from ordinary airlines.
Yeah.
Qantas is part of our heritage, part of Australia, and there won't be one paper in Dubai saying Emirates links up with Qantas.
Yeah. With the theme, John, I still call Dubai home work. well, in many ways, I still call Australia home is more relevant now that we are going to be popping to Dubai more often.
You look ahead 10 years, unless we do something quick, you'll be flying Sydney to Melbourne Emirates too. And this isn't a new start for Qantas to tie up with Emirates, the beginning of the end.
Okay, so if you are able to wave the magic wand, what would you do at Qantas then? In a nutshell, just tell us what you do.
Well, everything starts at the top. You have to have I don't even know who's on the board just as well, but you have to have a chairman and a CEO and staff who want to take Qantas back to what it was only 8 years ago. Let's go back to where we were. Let's make this the #1 airline in the world. And everything else will fall into place, I guarantee.
Now, what about the unions, the fact that it is a much more cost-competitive world than it was even when Jeff was there or James was there? How do you get the unions to buy into it, John?
Well, you've got to make the governments buy into it too. We can't have airlines flying here under this silly free trade agreement, paying slave labour wages and expecting Qantas to compete on Australian wages and conditions. So there has to be a departure tax or some kind of, we're going to have a mineral resort tax. Let's have a tax. We don't want to jeopardise tourism either. But let's charge these airlines to come to Australia. So that there's a balancing act, so their cost structure equals ours. We don't want to, we can be more productive in Australia, there's no doubt about that. And my buddies at Qantas, especially, they know they can work harder. They know they can put in more hours. They know they can be more productive. But at the same token, we can't expect them to compete with the $2 a day airlines. So there has to be some government incentive or disincentive for those airlines to fly here.
So you're arguing, for example, in the case of Emirates, that there's subsidisation of fuel.
They don't have to make any money whatsoever. They get free petrol. Same as we should get free electricity instead of having carbon tax. Get our coal miners to supply us all with free electricity. I haven't done the sums. But that would be the same sort of logic, and it would work. It would work for our industries and would work for Qantas. But we do need, it's not just leadership at Qantas and the unions, it's leadership of government as well to rise. Free trade's good, but on a level playing field.
Mate, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thanks, Pete.
And John's thoughts on an interview I did earlier this week will be in the Australian newspaper tomorrow, where he actually did elaborate on some other things. More controversially, I would have thought. Thanks again, John, for joining us on the program. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, Pete.
Okay, after break, with all this talk about Chinese burn and the mining boom being over, my next guest says that the long-term place to put your money is in the share market.
To the morning sun, I eat where the table sets, and I swim where the river runs.